All right. It is 11 o'clock. All right, today we're going to be talking about market saturation and kind of goes hand in hand with what everyone sees online, especially with the Smokies where I'm from. And we're going to kind of go over design choices, amenities, ways you can stand out, maybe taking that old, outdated property that most people would just look over and making that be the next star on the market. So, my name is Brandon Thompson, and I'm here in the Smokies. I have my own team called the Powerhouse Group here, but I'm partnered with Savvy STR agents. So that's a little introduction on my end. And yeah, so I have a few properties here in the Smokies. I have my money where my mouth is on these properties. So it's not just, I mean, it is data driven, but it's not so much. I mean, me just talking to you all, telling you what to do, and without actually doing it myself as well. So I will. You have to bear with me on this. I'm not a huge technology type of guy, so if I mess up a slide or two, we'll get it figured out. So uh, how do I fix this part? There we go. All right. So we're gonna go through a few transformations, a few case studies, just to kind of show what I'm talking about on this end. And yeah, we'll get this all going. There we go. So I'm gonna go through a couple properties, one of my own, and then actually a client of mine. He's done this several times, and he's seen it work for him, and along with other clients as well. But I really like the way he does his properties, and it's really impressive in the way we structure deals. I mean, you can't beat it. His cash on cash returns are incredible. And you're looking at a property here that he just finished up and went live with a couple weeks ago. It's he has it named the Crowd Pleaser. It's a 7 bedroom cabin that I can guarantee you 95% of investors would overlook and never even touch. But it was one to where we were able to structure a deal to where the numbers worked for him, the returns were through the roof, but at the same time, he saw the end of this entire project before it was even started. So most people just look at this like, oh, it's the end of this cabin. There's no hope, and the price would have to drop to ever make sense of a deal. But he was able to kind of envision the entire thing here. So this property was doing 100,000 last year, and that was under the management that they had beforehand. It was a large property management company, but the seller was kind of willing to create a deal to where seller credits were in the picture and things like that. So the buyer here obviously knew what he was going to do, and with those credits, so you really didn't have much money at all into this investment from a updating side of things. But it was a 7 bedroom. I mean, he had a couple bedrooms on the upper level, but downstairs is where he really focused. And he has 3 bunk rooms down there, really themed for kids. So he has a Nerf bunk room. He has this Harry Potter and Mario themed room. The Mario room also has a slide that goes out through the living room. So it's not showing everything in these pictures. It's really tough to, but it's crazy on his rental links, which you can kind of see there. But the backside of this property, I mean, it was just boring, just a brown cabin, and with all of the lighting and things like that, I mean, he's really transformed this property completely. He went live a couple weeks ago. I know within his first week, he told me I think his net rental rate already had 6 bookings, and the lower side of those bookings was $8,000. So he had roughly 50 grand on the books already within 1 week. So and last year did 100,000 for the entire year. So you can kind of see the upside there. He's expecting around 230 to 250,000 gross this first year. And Obviously, again, most investors would see this and kind of be like, why would anyone pay what he's going to pay for it? But again, with those credits, with the vision he had, I mean, he kind of transformed the entire property. So one way to kind of stand out here in the Smokies, or probably just any market in general, are themed rooms. And I mean, the bunk rooms here, I mean, you don't really see themed bunk rooms to this extent. And then the back deck area, and just a lot of lighting. Obviously, the slide here, putt putt, and then a couple hot tubs. Most people probably just put one hot tub on a 7 bedroom, which doesn't make much sense when you have 20 people staying there. But he has two hot tubs, a sauna, and just anything he could pack into here. And another thing you don't see much either is he has a sectional here with a fire pit, but there's also a TV up underneath this deck. So something little, I mean, a $299 expense to mount a TV there, and it really goes a long way in the I mean the photos and just the property itself. So this property here, someone asked, truly, this property is in the Smokies. It's right outside the Pigeon Forge Strip. So all of these properties today are going to actually be examples from the Smokies where I'm at. And this is actually be another one of the same client. Just again, his designs are on point, and really what he does is transforms properties, and I mean he crushes it. So this other one here, it was again a boring property, nothing special about it. Couldn't really fit a ton of pictures into this one. It was actually a newer cabin. It wasn't that old of a cabin, but very boring on the inside. I mean, all the bedrooms are just basic. And again, we were able to kind of put some seller credits into the deal here and fund pretty much his entire remodel. So this one here, you can put, I mean, just little things throughout, added some games, took out some of the stuff they had. But the real thing for him here was he added this mural in this pool room. And again, the photos, it don't show it all, but it was three walls of a mural here, and then on this side. And then he also had the roof painted. He has black lights, LED lights, glow in the dark. And I know for a fact within his first couple bookings, several people mentioned that they booked this property just because of the mural. There's three other cabins side by side here that are the same exact to a T that he's competing with, but that several people that mentioned it said, hey, we booked yours over the others because of the mural. So that was probably one of the best investments he made into this property. And let's say roughly $4,000 to $5,000 is going to pay for itself rather quickly. This one was doing around 70,000 last year. His first month was March, and March isn't that hot of a month for the Smokies, and I believe he was around $12,000 on the books just for that month. So when you can kind of pull that in on a month like March, I mean the summer throughout the remainder of the year is going to look really well. I mean, look really good for you and perform extremely well. So this is just to kind of show what I mean does well in this market, but probably any market. I think bold is kind of the way to go with rentals now, and it's I mean it's really I mean just going to stand out the entire time you're renting these properties out. So obviously you're trying to catch someone's attention on your first few photos, and when obviously if you're scrolling through and see this, it's just nothing special. It's not going to stand out from one cabin to the next. So you're going through these photos here. This obviously this pool image is going to grab your attention rather quickly. So I think that's one of the best expenses you can make up front, one of the best investments you can make up front, and you're really going to exceed the competition. So again, this is the Smokies, but I think this kind of goes hand in hand with any market, and I'm sure you see it time after time again. Let's see. We'll keep going through a couple more of these. This one's actually one I own, and we just went live with this one. But again, another outdated property here. I mean, it was horrible inside. Nothing about it was special. The floors are all terrible. All the bedrooms, furniture is awful. But the cabin here, we spent a couple months on this remodel. Every cabin also in this development, there's probably 30-ish cabins. Every one of them has the same exterior, same roof, nothing special. They all look the same. And we uh we kind of redid everything about this. So you could not paint the exterior in this development, and we didn't really like the stain color options that we were given. So we went to Sherwin-Williams and kind of had them mix a paint with the stain to make a iron ore color stain to kind of stand out. We redid the roof here, and then obviously redid everything inside. So I know throughout this remodel we had quite a few people that were staying within that community walking around just like, hey, can we come check out your property? Can we come check it out? And I think this is kind of where the going bold on the outside, or just looking different on the outside, helps. Is we probably had 5 to 6 families walk through our cabin, and they're like, hey, let us know when you're finished. We're coming back in the fall. We want to book it. So I think little things like that can go a long way. Again, not little, but steps like that will go a long way. We redid the downstairs game area, so they literally had a pool table. That one was it. We've added 5 arcade games, air hockey table here. We mounted a TV up against this wall, and then we added this mural, and that's probably the most standout part of that room is that mural, and it really helps pull the entire space together. We've added a little Dollywood sign here because we're only a few miles from there to kind of help that. And yeah, so on the back deck, they had the entire back deck walled off before. We kind of opened that up, extended it out a few feet, and then added some bowling alleys here. It's not something you see that often here in the Smokies or really any market, but I think that was one of the best investments we probably could have added to this property for the limited space that we did have. And again, I think it kind of goes to the amenity side of it, to where any way you can stand out, do it, because it's always easier to do it up front than later on. And I think you'll regret it down the road if you don't. So I've had this property was doing around 55,000, I believe, last year under this management company. We went live with it last week. I think we have 5 bookings already, around $10,000 in the books, and yeah, so we will obviously exceed their current revenue from last year, or their previous rental from last year, but we're kind of projecting around 125,000. So obviously, what we bought this for, with what the rentals were doing, it's um, not very pretty. It's not like, oh yeah, this is just the best deal in the world. But obviously, you work the seller credits into the deal, and you can kind of see the vision after. Then we kind of forced the appreciation on this property, what we bought it for, and we have about 300,000 plus, I'm sure, in equity right off the bat. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the amenities you can put into these properties. And it's not so much all that we have this great bowling alley or mural or whatever, but it's also seeing the afterthoughts of, hey, I want to keep doing this. I want to scale more and more, and being able to repeat this process. So this is just an easy way to do it, and always a way to stand out on the rental side as well. So obviously the design as well plays a big part here. So obviously it was pretty boring. We redid the flooring, painted cabinets, and obviously all new furniture throughout. We also painted the trim, had that painted throughout the entire cabin just to kind of stand out. It was just very brown, which I wasn't a huge fan of. So anyway, we could kind of spice that up and give it a different look, we did that. So just some things there. I mean, that one obviously went through a long 2-month remodel, but we obviously want to put our money where our mouth is and kind of show you like the amenities make a huge difference. And again, I'm going to go back to this part here, the couch here with the TV, hot tub, and the lighting. I just that part really shows well in pictures. I don't see many cabins here. And again, it may just be the Smokies. It could be any market, but I don't see many properties having outdoor TVs and things like that. And again, it's a very minimal expense to do so. But I mean, obviously, here in the southern states, we love our football. So I'm sure people coming in the fall really want to see watch football games and things like that outside. So it really kind of pulls the entire experience together. And it's not so much what's your ROI on that, but you're really bringing the whole experience together for guests. Let's see here. So amenities that make the most impact on really your property and the market. I would say it really depends on the market. Obviously, you're not going to put the same thing up north as you would down south, but some things you can kind of put in any market are going to be like an EV charger, string lights, or a couple of that. And again, I'm going to go over really just inexpensive amenities that you can put in. It's not so much amenities, but just investments. But things like an EV charger, string lights, coffee bars, and then outdoor space. Any type of amenities you can put out there are going to help you stand out. And I'll go back to the EV charger. You can go off of several data sources and data sites and kind of show your numbers with and without different amenities or different features added into your property and see how much of an impact that may make in your market. So in the Smokies, again, this is scraping data, but in the Smokies, seeing an EV charger on a property versus one without, there's a drastic increase in revenue. And for $750 up to $1,000, depending on the installation, I mean, you get one booking and it kind of pays for the entire install itself. So I believe in the Smokies, it was around a $30,000 increase. And again, it's not correlating directly to the EV charger, but obviously it is one more way to stand out. String lights, I mean, you can buy 300 foot of string lights for $200. So any way you can add lighting to photos, it's always going to help you out. So I would always recommend that. I mean, kind of go overboard with that if you have to, and you won't regret that there. And any way you can stand on the inside, staging, the coffee bars. I mean, that's just another way to kind of tie the experience together and stand out from your competition. And then the outdoor space. So, I mean, obviously we added bowling alleys to our property. I mean, clients of mine have added the slides, putt-putt, yard games, and any other, I mean, barrel saunas, things like that. Anything you can add outdoors to kind of stand out from your competition. Because most people really just put, in our market, have put just a small putt-putt little green pad, so to speak, and call that, hey, we got all these amenities. But anyway, you can go a step further, a step ahead to stand out. You won't regret that one bit. So always always recommend making that investment up front. And again, it's not so much, hey, what's my ROI on each thing I'm adding, but how can I tie this experience and make this experience better and keep them coming back and obviously stretch that pricing over time and get more bookings. So let's see what else here. Oh, this slide was on here. This definitely helps here. So here's the EV charger, the string lights, the coffee bars, and the outdoor space here. Branding and photography. This is another huge thing in our market. I see a lot of properties here that have potential, but just horrible photography. I mean, it's just they'll go in this. I want to say try to save $1,000 up front after maybe doing a nice remodel or buying a property and just snapping photos and thinking it's, hey, we're going to put it on the market. We're going to make, I mean, just great money and move on with our life. But that's the furthest thing from the truth. So on a lot of properties, I always recommend a handful of photographers up front. And I think that's probably one of the biggest and best investments you can make is going with a photographer who not only does, I mean, this for a living, but obviously does Airbnbs and short-term rentals day in and day out. Because you can have someone who's doing listing photos to sell properties and things like that, but it's a completely type of shoot. So someone who's going to capture the amenities the right way, someone's going to like know how to showcase the property and use the right lighting and things like that. So this is one of the biggest things in our market and or I guess in our industry. So making sure the photography is on point is going to be probably your best investment at the end of the day. So obviously all the amenities that you add into it, but if you can't showcase those off the correct way, then you're only hurting yourself. Let's see, where do you find your mural list? What resources do you recommend to find a mural? So the mural list there's several. I mean, a lot of times, depending on what market you're in, you can kind of join a lot of Facebook groups and ask around there. I'm sure, depending on your market, someone's got a recommendation, and Facebook groups for STR markets probably gonna be your best resource possible. So that's that would be my best answer for that one. I mean, if it's in the Smokies, then I obviously have references there. But if it's in any other market, I would say someone on our team in that market or Facebook groups. And does insurance get mad about we keep that on the low. They do not care. Now that one we're actually gonna I'm gonna go back to that picture because you mentioned insurance. And Justin Ford would probably kill me for not saying this. The railing here was like 2 inches shy because this was an add-on after, and we made sure the deck supported and everything. But the railing here was just a couple inches shy, so we're going to build this up and actually make it into scorecards to make it look like it was intentional and kind of stand out for the guests, which is being done before people are staying there. But that we just had the photos done without those, and we're just going to edit those later on. But there won't be any safety hazards, luckily. Um, Photography. I'm probably flying through this slide, by the way. How do All right, so obviously location's crucial, and people always kind of focus on location, proximity, and things like that to basically everything you're at within that market. But at the end of the day, you do still need to stand out. I mean, I have clients who may not be on top of the Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge Strip, but with the correct amenities, basically what I've showed you beforehand, they can still stand out compared to the competition who's 10 minutes closer. People will gladly drive a few more minutes or a few more miles or whatever it may be to have a full-on experience versus just staying somewhere close to all the attractions. You're not going to attract every guest that comes to your area, obviously. So at the end of the day, you kind of got to pick your avatar. And for me and my clients, I always just recommend going after the ones with the deeper pockets, honestly. As Bill Faith always says, the wealthy Wendy. So if you can design your properties to target that type of guest and that type of avatar, then they'll make the drive. They'll drive a few more minutes. They'll go out of their way to take the full-on experience at your property versus saving a few minutes at just the boring property down the road. So making sure you kind of cater to the guests that you're wanting is huge, and doing that up front is so worth it. And yeah, it's only 11:23. I'm flying through this one. Let's see, turning potential into profit. So yeah, so basically investing into the design and amenities is basically what offers the unique experience. So again, I could have gladly taken a property that I purchased or clients have purchased and just had good photos done. Photos would have obviously looked better and it would have helped, but without really investing into that property, we wouldn't have seen the returns that we were wanting. We wouldn't have seen the cash flow month after month that we're targeting. And obviously that kind of slows down the scaling process and it just makes it harder to leverage that down the road. So that is why we kind of focus out on that aspect here in the Smokies. We get the saturation comment quite often, but when you do it right, understand the guest avatar here, understand why they're coming to the Smokies and what does well, then you can really stand out. I mean, you can have that unique property, and it's really tough to compete with you at the end of the day. I mean, there's obviously a lot of properties here, but when you do it right, it will treat you well. So focus on the guest experience, obviously making it more than just a place to stay. And for example, on the 7-bedroom client or cabin that my client had there with the bunk rooms, it's not just bunk beds off of Wayfair. It was obviously custom bunk beds, the Nerf room that has a climbing wall or has the Nerf guns there or the slide with the Mario room and things like that. It's not just your typical, here's a bunk bed, we threw a couple pillows on there for you that were themed and move on. He's making that entire trip memorable inside and out. So there's so many things you can do and to kind of stay ahead of the game. And I mean, he's doing it, other clients are doing it, and I think that's huge in any market. I mean, even if your market isn't getting that quote unquote saturation comment quite often, that's one of the biggest things you can do is stay ahead in the game, and your pockets will treat you well from it. Small investments can make a big difference in attracting bookings and increasing revenue. So yeah, that's when I go back to the string lights, the EV charger. That's just another thing you can check off on your box on Airbnb and Vrbo, just showing that you have that amenity for guests that are looking for it. Any type of small investment like that, I would recommend to do every day of the week. Coffee bars is another thing I threw on there. Just again, it's a simple, I mean, $50 add-on that you can do. Just stocking that up front, and then obviously, if you depending if you have counter space or adding the bar, a couple $100 for everything, and it will definitely help you stand out. So it's more just someone taking a picture of their Keurig and calling you, hey, we have coffee. It's showing the entire setup. And it really, again, it's hard to track that, like how many people booked it because I had this versus someone who didn't. But when you can kind of tie the entire experience together, it's well worth it. And then obviously the outdoor space, the yard games. I mean, yard games, if you have the land, it's obviously tough here in the Smokies, but in the other STR markets, you have a little bit more room to work with. So any type of yard games, I mean, there's so many that are so inexpensive to add on. They will definitely help in any way you can add to the photos or the just the entire stay there. It's well worth it. I think one thing I noticed the other day, someone's talking about bucket golf, how that's going to be another amenity. And again, I wish that was one we could add here in the Smokies, but again, limited space, so it's tough. But that's another game that can showcase really well in photos. And then the power of high quality photos and effective branding can elevate your property's marketability. That is, again, I'm going to put that number one, even though the amenities are huge to showcase and have. Without good photos, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot there. So don't do everything right and then shortcut yourself at the very end when photos come around. Even if it seems you're over budget, like I have went, it's definitely something I would not try to cut corners on. I think that's your best investment that you can add into this entire property as a good photographer, showcasing everything you have and understanding what they're doing with the property. So they're not just going in there to take photos to send to you. They're basically trying to capture the entire experience in the best way possible for you to showcase it that way. So that is probably the number one tip I would say as a good photographer. And if you don't have one in your market that you're aware of, then obviously Facebook groups or resources or just, I mean, there's so many groups with answers that you can kind of go to at Facebook. So that would be my number one tip there. So we will, let's see what's next here. Meet the team. So yeah, we are in, I believe, over 20 something markets. Trish is always adding on more markets, so it is tough to count with her unless that's your full-time job is keeping up with her. Good luck. But we are in pretty much across the country here. A lot of SDR markets. Myself and my team, we are in the Smokies. So if you have any questions for us, always feel free to reach out. And yeah, if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, I'd love to answer those. And here's my site here. If you want to give me a call, you can schedule that on there. And yeah. And see, can you reshare the page with, oh, the one page with the listing of amenities? I forgot to leave this part up here. Reshare the one page. So we have, I'm just going back to the front here. So here's these. some amenities there. If you're going off of just simple, inexpensive investments you can put into your property on the listing of amenities that you asked, then you may be talking about this page here, which is the EV charger, string lights, coffee bars, and the outdoor space. And then, so Smokies are a vacation destination with lots of things to go out and do, but you find people still want to experience at the Airbnb they stay at. Yeah, so our market, obviously, there's a ton to do. I kind of call it the Vegas for kids. And obviously, again, you can go spend the entire week and still not do everything here, but people are still wanting to do something as they are staying at the property. So on a rainy day, the last thing that people have groups of 10 and 12 want to hear is their kids yelling because there's nothing to do or bored out of their mind. So anyway, you can kind of add amenities there, kind of keeps the parents happy and makes the kids really like it. And obviously that brings a smile on most parents' faces at the end of the day. So let's see here. So yeah, here is my site. And if you want to schedule a call, feel free to. And yeah, I don't really have too much more. And I'm sure you hear my dogs barking in the back too. But appreciate it. If you have any questions, reach out, let me know. Thank you.